this controller is a beast. What better way for me to come back to the world of tech reviews than with the absolute behemoth that is the DualSense Edge controller from PlayStation. This was released in January last year, so almost a year back for now, so reviewing it now is almost perfect. It means that all the issues people would have come across would have come up by now, they'd be rearing their heads, they'd be getting to the end of that point where you're like, oh, I've been using it for a ton of time and now I've got the issues. So it's good for us to look at. Thanks to my pal Phil for getting a hold of one of these for me to use and test and review. First off, if you do enjoy my content, I'm just getting started back in the YouTube world, so dropping me a sub would mean the absolute world to me. Maybe I'm on the road to 5k subs again, who knows, see what happens. Alternatively, if you don't want to sub, sit back and enjoy. I'm not going to unbox it. I always think it's a little bit of a waste of your time and mine. It also means that you can have the pleasure of unboxing it yourself if you do decide to buy one. I'll tell you that it's a nice experience to unbox as usual with a premium product like this. That's all. Short version of these, as I always do, is it worth buying? If you want a controller that looks and feels expensive, is as hefty as you could possibly want, has a huge bunch of unrivaled features, is comfy and sleek, and will probably make you a better player, then yes. Are there much cheaper alternatives that basically match up to it? Also yes. But are they as good as this? Probably not. From me, it gets a 9 out of 10. Easy. If that was all you were here for, thanks for watching. See you later. Now, for everyone else, the detail. Into the meat of it. This is and was Sony's first venture into the Pro Controller world. With the DualSense Edge, PlayStation came in and well and truly marked their territory, which is quite hard coming into like an extremely crowded marketplace. There's an argument to say that this wasn't needed in the world of things that we've currently got. Like for example, if another third party came along with another Pro Controller, I'd probably be like, meh, leave it. But really, how could PlayStation not get involved in this market and just watch their stuff get leathered in a less impressive way by people like Scuff? Yes, I do still think they are overpriced pieces of hot, steaming piles of doo-doo, even after all this time. Priced at $200 in the US and weirdly 209 quid in the UK, it positions itself basically as a response to the slightly cheaper Xbox Elite Series 2. Its design feels immediately familiar to those that are familiar with the PlayStation universe. Familiar. And for those not, it just feels like a bloody lovely controller. When I say familiar, I don't mean familiar in a way like I've just been robbed out of 2 weeks worth of shopping money for a controller. More like in a they've just turbocharged my favourite trainers kind of way. Still your favourite, just better. This comes packed with all of the features you would expect from a Pro Controller in the current domain, which originally, with the pictures that we got in the kind of original release trailer, looked like it might not have had it, especially when we thought that these were the only 2 buttons and we were going to get more than that. Let's be honest though, you'd be raging if it didn't have the features that it should have considering how much you paid for it. You'd be raging and I wouldn't be telling you that it's worth the money, right? Let's talk design and features. The design of the DualSense Edge closely follows the standard DualSense controller from way back when. It just has a little bit of an upgrade with very minimal learning curve if you're used to those controllers. Unlike the Raiju, RIP my favourite controller ever. If you're completely brand spanking new to the back paddle world, you are in for a world of hurt despite what anybody tells you about it being easy, whatever. It's difficult, but you'll get it. And when you do, you'll never can go back. Welcome to the poor man's world of spending way too much on controllers. You're welcome. The controller comes in a 2-tone hard shell case, which matches the aesthetic of the standard PS5. Inside, you get a bunch of accessories as you would expect, including 2 different types of back buttons, which by the way, I really like. If you're not a paddle fan, you've got these little clicky buttons, which I obviously like much better and I keep them in all the time. But if you're used to the paddles and you like the paddles, you can have the paddles. I just always think that they're quite flimsy and I never really like them that much. I prefer the buttons. You get a couple of extra analog sticks to change the heights. Not my thing, maybe it's yours. A braided USB-C cable and this little nugget, which basically is a lock-unlock button to secure the cables during gameplay, which I really appreciate, to be honest. Notably, the addition of the function buttons below the analog sticks facilitates quick profile swaps and audio adjustments should you need them. The back of the controller is where it gets class because that's where your kind of pro level features come in, aka the back paddles and the trigger stops. I love trigger stops. And these ones actually have more than 1 stop in them. Kind of like, was it the Victrix Gambit that had the same one? Yeah, so 3 stops. I think it was the Victrix, can't remember, but it's got 3 stops. Usually, most people only use fully in or fully out, but they are there if you prefer them to be used a little bit differently. Careful one note on COD though. For some reason, when I had the stops in all the way, the vehicles would only go half speed. I suppose that's because it's only using like half the trigger, but that doesn't happen on Rocket League. It lets me accelerate properly all the way, so I don't know if that was just me or I was doing something wrong, but yeah, they would only go at half speed, so I had to take them on and off. Anyway, the vehicles are for pussios, so who cares? It works on Rocket League. The standout feature on the DualSense Edge, are you ready for it? You should know this by now. Replaceable analog stick modules. Come on! This obviously helps with the prevalent stick drift issue we've all been dealing with for years. I mean, personally in this day and age, why not just use Hall sensors in your sticks? I don't really understand why, but meh. So while it could benefit from slightly better sensors, the inclusion of easily replaceable modules is what we all wanted anyway, so that we can change them over and not have to deal with the worst stick drift ever. I will ask though, what year do we have to be in for stick drift to disappear? Why is it still a thing? Technology in general, robots can make stuff. Why are we still dealing with stick drift? In addition to all the pro level features that have been added on, it still has all the standard features, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, a built-in microphone, and obviously much more of the normal stuff you would expect to see. Changeable faceplate, so on and so forth. The look of the controller has slightly more subtle changes. It's got black face buttons, black D-pad, which I really appreciate obviously, and then an all black touchpad, and then the classic PlayStation symbols. Personally, I think it's pure sexy. It just is. A lovely looking piece of kit. However, I am going to need to skin it black. Something from D-Brand Skins or something. White for me just isn't the one. I just can't do it. Can't get on board with it. Ergonomics. While they feel similar to the original DualSense, it is noticeably heftier. A 16% increase in weight isn't something to be sniffed at. Despite that, it is still lighter than the Elite Series 2, and people moan a bit about the weight of that sometimes, so this is a good thing. To be honest, if I paid this much for something, I'd rather it felt that way. Cough, cough, scuff. Software, when you plug it into the PS5, a tutorial comes up with all the features. It'll show you what it does, what it's for, and give you all the function menus and customization stuff that you could ever need. I will probably do a separate small video on how to do this on PC, because there was a lot of people moaning that they couldn't get it to work. It is simple, you just need to do things a little bit differently and it should be able to pick it up for you. In this, you can do things like analog sensitivity, you can map any of the buttons, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I'm not one that gets wrapped up in that type of stuff, but if you are, you can do whatever you need in there. It's basically something people are talking about to be the best one on the market as far as software and hardware unison are concerned. You can do some of the coolest stuff ever. As I say, it's not my bag really, but apparently it's absolutely ridiculous, so you can take everyone else's word for it rather than mine. The user interface is sleek and intuitive, nice. Even a simple person like me can work it very easily. On to gaming, the default analog sticks and the D-pad have a really snappy feel. They feel amazing to play on. They are very snappy. Could just be because it's a brand new controller, but they're snappy as hell. The build quality within games is very obvious. It's lovely. I tested this in Call of Duty Warzone, Rocket League, Valheim, Skate, and Street Fighter. Basically, I love it, like really love it. If you're here as one of my subs from back in the day, this will sound really odd because I love very little, but it is a delight to play with. Not many cons to this, to be honest, but the microphone was picking up a lot of sweeps and button clicks and stuff when I had it on the actual controller. I might be stereotyping slightly here, but if you're someone who's spending 200 quid on a controller, I'm gonna guess you probably have a decent headset. If you don't, it's usable, but like maybe get a cheaper controller and buy a headset. That's just my advice. Second con, battery life. No real update on this from the original. About 5 hours till low battery kicks in. Personally, I think that's rubbish, but hey, we move. Can't win them all. Just plug it in and you're fine. I'm only used to wired controllers being this good, so to be honest, 5 hours is 5 hours more than I've ever had. I'll take everything I can get. Overall, with a price tag about 3 times more than the original DualSense, the 200 bucks or 209 quid, DualSense Edge is a big investment, for sure. However, it delivers impressive technology in a familiar form factor. The function buttons, interchangeable back buttons, the feel of the thing, the changeable analog stick modules, and everything in between contribute to PlayStation's and Sony's first entry to the pro gaming world, and I think it is bloody brilliant. I rate this massively. If you want to get one, there is a link to it on Amazon down below if you want to get it from there. If you have any questions or anything else you want to know on it, drop me a comment. As always, sub, and if you did enjoy this content, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.